Oh, hello there. You've probably clicked on this video because you're seeking more base building knowledge on Miscreated. And the good thing is you're at the right place because I have a lot of knowledge in this video for you. 4K resolution is available in this film. In the description I will have timestamps, and this will help you navigate throughout the video if you already know certain parts of the guide. I created this base as a solo player, and right now I have this main room with a layer of 3x4x4 platforms around me, walled out. So I'm really safe here, and I have a furnace in the lower left hand part of the screen, and I'm standing on my workbench. And these are the two main things that you need in order to upgrade your walls to plated like I have in here. So in this video, we're going to do everything in order to make this, and I'm going to show you everything that you need and what you have to do to get it. If you learned something from this, please support me and leave a like. If this video reaches 500 likes, I will create another base building video. Let's start from the beginning as a fresh spawn and craft tools so we can harvest resources. The first thing that I recommend is to familiarize yourself with the crafting menu. By default, it opens up with the G key. When the menu opens, it starts on base building and components, and this is where you make your plot sign to claim land and also create lumber to build your base parts. When I first spawn in, the most important tab to me is the equipment tab. It starts off in the bags tab on the right side, and this is where you can craft a fanny pack and a horseshoe pack. And the fanny pack gives 3 extra slots, and the horseshoe pack gives an extra 5. This is plenty of space to go ahead and start building your base with. The next important tab is in the equipment tab, and it's the tool tab. This is where you can craft a hammer, a hatchet, a pickaxe, and a fire drill. The hammer will gather scrap metal from vehicles. We'll use the hatchet to gather wood to turn into lumber. The pickaxe will be used to mine rocks, iron ore, and pyrite, which is sulphur. Iron ore can be found near water areas, and it has an orangish brown color. It's very easy to notice when you get around the water. It's smelted in a furnace to create iron ingots. And iron ingots create sheet metal when crafted on a workbench. In the right tab, we're going to open up the components section, and this is how we are going to make rags and rope. So it takes 2 thatch to make rags and 4 rags to make a rope. Thatch and stick piles can be found by searching the bushes that you see all over the map. What I'm going to do is grab enough to make a fanny pack, and I'm going to keep searching around for a backpack, and if I don't find one, then I'll decide to make a horseshoe pack. Now that I've got a little bit of thatch, I'm going to open up the equipment tab and the components tab, and now I can create a rag for every 2 thatch that I have. And I'm going to keep doing this until I get about 30 rags. One of the fastest ways to gather lumber is by tearing lumber off of pallets. There are places all over the map that have pallets everywhere, and this is a very fast way to gather lumber, because if you normally have to chop logs, it takes 2 logs to make 1 piece of lumber, and that can take a lot of time. So if you go to places like this, you gather lumber a lot faster, and you have the opportunity to see more loot. Let's open the bag and see how many I got. So I got 17 lumber just from that one spot. Since my inventory is full, I'm going to create a fanny pack with all of this thatch that I've gathered. And if I was having trouble finding a backpack, I would go ahead and create the horseshoe bag for an extra 5 more slots. But for now, this fanny pack will be fine. It's going to give me just enough slots that I'll be able to gather everything that I need. So before I craft a plot sign and try to place it somewhere, I'm going to go to the best places I know to gather lumber and scrap metal. And for me, it's the farms, because they have the shops and the houses, and you can find scrap metal and sheet metal piles outside just laying around like this. And I highly recommend grabbing some scrap metal before you try to build a base, because you'll need to make a lockable wooden door, and that requires 2 scrap metal, and to upgrade that to metal it costs 8 sheet metal. So when you're ready to plant a base, you need to get a plot sign, and the platform that I recommend is the 3x4x4 platform, and that's here in the platforms tab right here. It takes 9 lumber to create it. All you have to do is place walls around it because it already has a roof. So we're just going to keep searching around through the houses, trying to find a location on the map that looks like a good spot to build a base. After you place your plot sign, it costs a total of 58 lumber, which is 116 logs, and 2 scrap metal to make the platform with the walls and a door on it. The stack's max size is 64. So now the thing that I'm looking for is a rock, and I'm looking along this riverbed, and I found a unique place here that had a lot of scrap metal inside of it. This would be a great place to try to build a base, but I had one problem trying to do it. I wasn't able to place my plot sign anywhere around here, but you can see all of the metal spawn, and I searched around here and I finally found a rock and extra wood logs. So now it's time to create an axe. There's also a lot of iron ore around here. It looks just like this. Okay, so now let's back up out of the bushes here and open up the crafting menu, and we're going to go to equipment and then tools. Now I'm going to craft a hatchet. To craft the hatchet, we have to have a rope. So I'm going to go to components, and I have to craft a rope with 4 rags. Now let's go to tools and select the hatchet. And also, if we're needing to mine this iron ore, we would craft the pickaxe, and then that is how we get iron ore for the sheet metal. Now it's time to make this plot sign and try to place it. I was not able to place the plot sign at this location, so what I did was I found a 4-wheeler, and this allowed me to search the map a lot faster, so I ran to the hills. The next important business information that I have for you is how you place things inside of your main room, and your main room needs to have the furnace and it needs to have the workbench. Unfortunately, I was not able to fit my bed in here, but I use my bed on my 1.3 by 4x4 platform so I can access my second floor. The developers recently this year added a patch where 4-wheelers have the chance to spawn with one of their parts that they need to start with. So you could get lucky and find a 4-wheeler like I did that had almost everything in it. It was just missing some diesel fuel and some oil, and I searched around in some houses and I found everything that I needed. And also, if you're ever looking for wheels, they can spawn in the back of trucks and on top of cars. So it could be really easy to find this stuff, and I usually see car batteries all over the place. Now I'm looking for a place to set my plot sign and claim some land and start building. And right now, I just recently spawned and found this new backpack. And I also found a hatchet, but the durability on it is really low. It could break really soon. So I'm going to try to set my plot sign here at this spot. There's some flat land around here, and it should be good where I can lay out my platforms and make it nice and square. Before I try to place it, I'm going to search around this farm for some extra materials. Earlier I found a cleaver and a lug wrench, and what I'm going to do with these is break them down into repair kits, and as I'm chopping wood logs, when my durability gets down on my axe, I'll use those repair kits on my axe, since they all can go in the same weapon slot. Before I place this plot sign, I'm going to search this last barn down here and try to tear off all of the lumber that I can off of these pallets. This is a separate character from the character that I made the crafted axe with, and I've just basically got a backpack and a hatchet and a 4-wheeler, and now I'm getting ready to set my plot sign up and grow my miscreated business slash base, whatever you want to call it. I like to call it a business because it sounds really cool. Let's open up this crafting menu and make the plot sign. Also, we need to go to the storage And if you have the recipe to make this large wood crate, I would go ahead and do it, but I just have to make the small wood crate for now. And I just have lumber, so I'm going to have to go cut a few logs since it requires 2 logs and 5 lumber. So here's a little tree here, and I got 2 logs. Now I'm going to go back to crafting, and I'm going to craft the small wood crate. I had a hard time placing my plot sign here, but luckily I was beside some mountains, so I decided to run up the mountains and place my plot sign up there. But before I went up, I searched this house that was close, and I was lucky to find another hatchet, and I also found a pickaxe that spawned inside a vehicle that was very close as well. I finally found a mountain that didn't have any bases near it. There was one up the hill a long ways, but they couldn't see me from where I was at. I felt very safe here, and I was ready to place my plot sign. So I'm going to place it up here at the top, and I really should have placed it in a better place because it's going to interfere with my building later on, but it'll be okay. I'll work around it. And right now, I'm just going to place this little box out of sight to where if somebody did come up here, it would still be really hard for them to find this. So I'm going to place all my stuff in here and clean my bags out so I can go ahead and start building on my base. And I'm just going to make all the room that I can by getting rid of everything that I need to. I'm also going to eat all the food that I have. I usually try to keep my hunger and my thirst level at 100% if I'm able to do that. But right now I am set up and I'm ready to start cutting logs and building my parts. If you have a 4-wheeler, please be sure to park it out of sight. If people see it, they might go in the direction that it's in and look for somebody that may be driving it. So it's definitely a way to attract people around you, so just keep it ducked off and in between rocks, and a lot of times people won't notice it. So now it's time to cut some wood logs, and I highly recommend being in a tree that has a lot of leaves around it so people can't see you, because if they see you out in the wide open, they might try to shoot you or definitely mess you up. So be really careful of that. So now I'm going to go to the base building and go to the component section, and I'm going to craft all of these wood logs into lumber. And it takes 2 wood logs to make 1 lumber. Now I'm going to go to base building and go to structures and then go to platforms, and I'm going to make a 1.3 by 4 by 4 platform. And what I'm going to do with this platform is have it pressed up against my 3 by 4 by 4 platform, and it's going to act as a staircase. I placed my bed so I can run on top of my bed and jump onto the roof, but you can place another item such as a box or maybe a propane heater and still step on top of that and get on your roof. The walls that we use for the platforms that we make in this video are the 3 by 4 walls. These cost 24 wood logs, and you have to turn those into 12 lumber, and then you craft the 3 by 4 wall in the walls tab. Now I'm going to place this 1.3 by 4 by 4 platform here, and I'm going to go cut some more logs so I can start placing walls around my platform. Okay, now I'm going to make a 3 by 4 wall, and I'm going to go place it. And I actually made a mistake by making the 1.3 by 4 by 4 platform so quick. I should have just went ahead and made this 3 by 4 by 4 platform and started placing walls around it. And I just want to show you that mistake in the video so you don't actually do it and waste time. And just remember, anytime that you are trying to make walls, that you need a total of 24 wood logs. So I'm going to go ahead and make one of these 3 by 4 by 4 platforms. And what I was trying to do was place it on top of my 1.3 by 4 by 4 platform and make a roof for it. But I discovered that I really didn't need to do that. I just needed to place a 3 by 4 by 4 platform and put walls around it. I was getting worried because this was definitely a tornado in the game, and I didn't know if it could hurt me or not. So I took cover and I freaked out and started throwing parts all over my platform. And when I discovered that I was okay, I chopped more logs and got some lumber and made some more walls with it. So since I don't have scrap metal right now, I'm going to use 3x4 walls as a door method, and it's really going to slow me down for a long time. And now I'm going to pack up this 3x4x4 platform, and I'm going to place it here on the ground. And later, when I get more walls and another door, then I will set up the stair level. So I'm going to skip ahead to where I just place it in the spot it's supposed to be, because it actually took me a while to do this. You can still see a little bit of a gap through here, but base snapping will be in the system pretty soon. I have a video on what it looks like in the experimental server, and I made a very nice base with the base snapping system. If you want to check that video out, you can find a link for it in the description. But what I like to do is square the walls up on top of the platform, and then I'll drop it down right where it looks really square. I noticed that it was also kind of easy to put walls on inside the platform. So this is going to be my doorway method until I go get scrap metal from a vehicle, and I'm going to have to find a hammer in order to do that. Or I can find a junk pile. So I highly recommend finding that scrap metal before you ever try to do this. And it can be really easy. You can even find scrap metal in bathtubs and just weird spots. So now that I've got the base closed off, I went ahead and grabbed my crate and packed it up, and now I'm putting it inside here so nobody can just grab it out in the open. Now at least there's walls protecting it, and it's some kind of protected. But melee weapons can tear down my shack right now because it's made out of wood. And the way to fix that is to upgrade it to metal. So we're going to have to find a forge, and it's going to cost 32 rocks and 10 scrap metal. So now I'm on a quest to find a hammer so I can obtain all the scrap metal I need. This is why it's important to be around something or a location that has good loot. And I made a base around this military tent, and the base is also around a river, so I'll be able to get my iron ore, and I'll also be able to come to this place here and keep getting loot. Take precaution whenever you come to areas like this, because there will be other players here. I recommend sitting back for a little bit before you come here, just so you can really see if there's any kind of player movement, and if there's not, then you can safely proceed to the tent and obtain loot. When I'm doing these loot runs, I'm also grabbing everything that I can tear down into rags so I can make a bed pretty soon, because you need a total of 20 rags and 10 lumber to build a bed. So that's one thing that I'm on the lookout for right now, and I'm also on the lookout for any tools that I can use to repair my axe and my pickaxe with. And these mega lights make really great weapon attachments. If you find the small mega light and duct tape, you can create a nice flashlight for your rifle. And this is kind of a good safety feature if you're like me and if you travel in the dark. Sometimes the zombies can overpower you, and you need a gun and a flashlight in some certain situations to stay alive. And it may be worth it to go ahead and shoot the zombies instead of let them kill you. So you can find duct tape just laying pretty much anywhere, just like the small mega lights. And then you'll just open up your crafting menu and go to weapons and down to attachments. And then you can also make a crafted rifle silencer or pistol silencer with Jostas. So this will keep you quiet and it will keep you awake. And you turn it on by pressing the L key by default. Here in this house, I finally found a hammer, and now it was time to take it to a vehicle and harvest scrap metal so I could create a lockable wooden door and place it on my wall door. I am a little close to vehicles, so it's not that hard for me to gather scrap metal. Luckily, the game has a lot of vehicles in weird places, so it's not that difficult to find vehicles most of the time, but sometimes you can really get away from them. You just want to be careful. Let's create a rifle silencer since I have a Josta and I got a scrap metal here, and this is going to save us in times like this. It will keep us quiet, and it keeps the alert of zombies down low. So this is a really good thing if you're a solo player, so you can keep quiet and keep zombies off of you and not make a lot of noise. Because sometimes in certain situations it may be better if you just go ahead and kill the zombie instead of let it distract you. I recommend grabbing about 40 scrap metal to get started with. This should be more than plenty for everything that you need to craft in order to start making metal ingots. I usually hide my four-wheeler in trees that are really dense and will make it hard for other people to see. And since it was snowing, I went into town to find a propane heater tank because that's what I needed in order to complete my heater. And at the time it was snowing, so I was worried about my character getting really cold and dying. So now I have enough stuff to make this propane heater. Here at the base, I already had the propane heater top. And since it was snowing, there was no better time than right now to create this propane heater and place it. It's not a bad idea to have one of these handy in case you really need it. It can probably save you in a time that you're about to die, or maybe you're running back from a big loot run and you need to get really warm real quick. This and heat packs will definitely keep you warm on this game. I usually don't drink drinks with radiation poisoning, but when I do drink, it's 23. Now it's time to take this mining pick and mine some rocks. And rocks can be easily found in the mountains. You just gotta wield your pickaxe and then harvest rock will appear and you can just start mining it. You also mine pyrite whenever you mine rocks, and you can put it into your furnace and it smelts down into sulphur, which is used for gunpowder whenever you combine it with charcoal. I have to mine a total of 32 rocks in order to make the stone furnace, and here in the utilities tab is where it is. Now that I've mined all that I need, I'm going to go into my base and I'm going to go ahead and get this furnace set up. So I'm going to pack up my wall here as my door, but now that I have some scrap metal, I can fix it. So now it's time to make the furnace, and I'm going to go to the crafting. It's under base building and utilities, and we have 32 rock and 10 scrap metal. And later on I'm going to put the workbench right here, and I'm going to put the furnace over here out of the way, and I'll stack up my boxes so I'll have more room in this area to put the workbench. I really did everything poorly here. I just want you to see this so you don't make the same mistake. If you do happen to place things in places that you don't really like, you can just pack them up and replace them. So it's a really good thing that Miscreated has, that some games don't have that. When you place a wall on some games, you're stuck with it. But luckily on here, we don't have that problem. So one fast way to make your ore smelt faster is to split it up in stacks. The way the furnace works is it smelts how many stacks it has in there. So if you only have one stack, then it will only make one iron ingot whenever it produces. So the more stacks you have, the faster it will be. So now I'm going to create this workbench after I make these iron ingots here with the ore that I just put in here. And I'm going to go to the crafting, and I'm going to go to base building, and I'm going to go down to utilities, and it's right here at the bottom. It takes 10 lumber, 5 scrap metal, and 4 iron ingots to create the workbench. And I made a big mistake by placing this outside. I should have redone everything inside, but the problem was I was low on inventory space, so I really didn't have the inventory to put everything back in my bags and flip everything around. I had to run back and forth to my workbench, which is really dangerous, so I'm just going to replace this with a door now that I have some scrap metal. So I'm going to go to the crafting tab, and I'm going to be in base building, and I'm going to select structures and go down to walls, and I'm going to make the 3x4 wall door, and it costs 10 lumber, which is 20 logs. And then I'm going to go to doors, and I'm going to craft the lockable wooden door, which is 3 lumber and 2 scrap metal. So that goes on here like this, and I've kind of made it square a little bit, enough that somebody probably can't look into it right now. And now I'm going to place the door on here, and this took me a minute to get squared up. I'm really ready for the base snapping system to come in, because it will not be this hard anymore. And I actually placed that door on top. So if you start missing equipment, look on top and be sure you didn't place it up, because that's what I did here, and I'm going to save this lockable wooden door for another time. I thought that the game ate my door, so I made another door and I just placed it on here. But I did notice that doors are one of the most difficult things to make where there's no gaps in between, so it definitely took some time, and it seemed to work very well putting it on inside and on the outside. I just couldn't find the best place. It just took a while. So now I'm going to extinguish this furnace and go cut some logs so I can make a bed. And to make a bed we need 20 rags and 10 lumber, which is 20 logs. And now we're here, and I'm going to craft it, so it's in the Utilities tab under Base Building, and it's right on top here. And this will now give us a place to spawn at if we die. So this is very helpful, and this is probably the best part of the updates that's happened this year, is now whenever you die you have the option to spawn here at your base. So I'm going to go ahead and build all the rest of the 3x4 walls and the 3x4 wall door, and I'm going to place that other lockable wooden door right here. Now whenever I spawn I will be safe from people outside. And also be very careful of going to things like that, like the crashed plane or the airdrop, because there could be people camping out and you don't want to get distracted and lose everything you have. So really think it through before you go after it. And now I'm just going to finish up and place the rest of my walls here. And now that we have these two cubes here and a safe place to spawn, I'm going to go after some iron ore. After I get back from the iron ore trip, I'm going to move this in a way that it will allow me to jump on top of my other 3x4x4 platform. Once you have found or crafted a pickaxe, you need to head down to the river to find iron ore. This is where all the iron ore spawns. If it has water around it, then there's probably iron ore. And I didn't have a backpack, so I ran up to the military camp and I found a small one. But what I usually do is mine 2 stacks of 64 iron ore, and I will run that into my furnace, and then I'll come back down and mine some more ore. You don't want to have too much on you, because if you die, then you just lost however much that was and the time it took. Be sure to watch your back whenever you're mining the iron ore and rotate around the rock so somebody doesn't come up behind you and kill you. That would be a business loss worth mourning over. Now that I've filled the furnace up, I'm going to light it up and I'm going to go chop some logs so I can continue building platforms and walls. When going inside and out of your base, don't forget to lock the door, because if you don't, somebody can open the door and they could get inside and grab a gun if they were fast enough. So keep that in mind when you're away from your base. Just be sure that you lock it up. I wasn't recording, but I grabbed some ingots earlier. It was a total of 16, and I crafted 8 sheet metal and upgraded the door to armored, and now I'm going to upgrade the wall to armored. So what we have to do is take these iron ingots outside to the workbench, and when we do that we're going to open the crafting menu up, and right there in components it says sheet metal. So let's go to the workbench and we're going to go over to crafting, and we're just going to select sheet metal, and it takes 2 iron ingots to make 1 sheet metal. It takes 16 sheet metal to upgrade a wall to plated, and it takes 8 sheet metal to upgrade a door to plated. Once you upgrade to plated, your base can no longer take damage from melee weapons. Only explosives will be able to harm your base. Now I'm back at my furnace, and a lot of my ore has already smelted, so I'm going to grab all these ingots again and go make all the sheet metal that I can. My main objective right now is to completely have a cube that is in sheet metal. I'll be completely protected against melee weapons, and I'll move my workbench in here where I can use my furnace and my workbench and be completely protected from anybody outside with axes and things like that. So this is going to limit us down to only a few people being able to really get in here. And now that the pyrite has turned into sulfur, I'm going to go to the crafting menu and go to the weapons tab and click on components, and now I can make gunpowder, and this will allow us to make ammo, but you have to have the guide to be able to make it, so you might have to search around and go on a few loot runs. This tree right here gives apples if you get hungry and thirsty, and you can drink from water from the rivers. I just recommend keeping the blue mushrooms on you to reduce radiation in case you have to do something that harms you. While I was out picking apples, I had my furnace going, and now I'm about to go smelt all of these ingots and upgrade one of my walls. So I had some stashed in my stash in here, so now I got 24 sheet metal. I'm gonna go ahead and upgrade that, and then I just have this one left. So I waited on my furnace to smelt them all, and now I have all of the ingots I need to fully upgrade all of my walls. And I'm gonna lock this door and grab the rest of them, and let's upgrade my last wall. So now I'm fully protected against melee weapons in here, and to upgrade the roof we need another 16 sheet metal, and that is smelting in the furnace, and after I make ingots I'll be ready to upgrade this to sheet metal. If you want to calculate your parts out by ingots, then it takes 32 iron ingots to upgrade a wall, and it takes 16 iron ingots to upgrade a door. So now my walls are metal, my door is metal, and my platform is metal. So this is completely immune to melee attacks. But there's still some gaps through here, so I'm gonna fix it by packing up this wall and moving it a little bit closer. And as I said earlier, the developers are working on an update that's called base snapping that's gonna fix it where there's not gonna be gaps through here, and it'll be a lot better whenever that update is released. But the best way to fix it right now is just put more platforms around this and just keep making layers. I packed up my workbench, and now I was able to place it in here, and eventually I'm going to pack up these boxes and stack them up on top of each other to save me more space. And I really think that I could have fit a bed in here, and I think it's worth trying if you start building your own base or business. Now I'm going to go redo the outside. I packed up my 1.3 by 4x4 platform, and I've placed it in a way to where it's closer to my 3 by 4x4 platform. And I'm going to place my bed up here, and it's going to allow me to jump on top of my 3 by 4x4 platform. Once I have all of the walls set up, I'm going to put my door on right here, and this is going to be an airlock into my base. And I'm also going to put some 1.3 by 4 walls on the bottom so my door won't fall down. And it will prevent people from crawling under my base or shooting me from underneath. Now I'm going to place my bed here, and this is going to be how I jump on top of my roof. It wouldn't be a bad idea to put a propane heater on top to jump on top of the roof, but I just ended up using my bed. I had to go mine some more iron ore so I could finish upgrading my base to complete metal. If you liked this video and you've learned something, please leave it a like. If I can get this video up to 500 likes, I will gladly make another base video that will be even more advanced and be very strategic and be so hard to raid nobody would even want to mess with it. When you're mining the iron ore, be sure to watch out for mining all of the iron ore out of a vein. If you do, you'll just have to move to another rock and continue to mine all of the ore out of that one. Don't forget to go on loot runs and search cities for new recipes and things to make. There's a lot of weapon recipes and there's explosive recipes, and you also want to be on lookout for the storage recipe, because you're going to want to make the large wood crate as soon as you can, because the small crates you can only make 4 of them, and you can only have 2 large crates in your base. So you really have to be particular with what items you keep, and you really have to question if you really need those items or not. I also found a big backpack on my loot run, so I'm upgrading to this, and I'm about to take a lot of good stuff back to the base. And I found some Josta, so I might make a rifle silencer. And I just got a DD MK18, and I'm really excited about this. After finding this gun, I decided to mine some pyrites so I can make some gunpowder. I'm going to take this back to the base and put it in the furnace. And you see that my door has fallen down. And the way that we fix this is we make a 1.3 by 4 wall. And we're going to go to the Structures tab, and then we'll go to the Wall tab and scroll all the way down until we find the 1.3 by 4 wall. You may have to have a walls of 1 guide in order to make this, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Now I'm going to place this, and this will also make it where people can't crawl under the base and constantly harass me. So once you place it right here for the doorway, it'll stop the door from falling all the way down. But at least you can still lock it even if it does fall down, and it will still prevent people from getting inside. Now I'm going to place my door here, and this is going to be the best placement I've ever done on a door because I got it almost where there's no way to see inside. And I don't think from the outside that anybody could see from outside this. Once the base snapping system gets put in, this will all be something that we don't have to worry about anymore. The base is coming along very nicely, but before I start expanding, I want to upgrade everything to metal that I have so far. So I got 60 ingots, and I'm about to turn those into sheet metal, and I'm going to finish upgrading everything else. Now that I have the sheet metal, let's go to the airlock, and it's going to cost 16 sheet metal and another 16 sheet metal for this one right here. So that's 32 sheet metal to upgrade 2 walls. Now let's make some 3x4x4 platforms and start expanding the base. And right now my first objective is to get walls on the outside of this cube, so somebody has to knock down walls to get to my main room. And it's also very important that I upgrade these to metal as well, so it's just another layer of metal that somebody's going to have to go through to get to my stuff. So my main objective here is to just create a layer initially around my base, and then I'm going to make a second story layer because all of these 3x4x4 platforms can have a wall, and that's what's going to allow us to make a second story building. And in the second story is where I keep all of my loot, because the bottom floor is always exposed to somebody getting there really easy, and if you put it upstairs it might be a little bit harder for them to have to get it. Since I finally had a metal base, I decided it was time for me to go after an airdrop or two. And if you can get these airdrops, they can give a lot of base building materials, and it'll help out a lot. Just be careful, because if you're like me, you might blow your four-wheeler up or get killed by somebody, so there's always a big risk when you go after these airdrops. I got really lucky with this one, and it gave me a lot of ammo. There's a few ammo boxes in this crate, and I was really surprised that nobody came to this. There was a frag grenade and C4 inside, so I real quickly got everything out of here before anybody decided to come this way, and there was something waiting for me at the bottom of my hill. Let's go see what it dropped. These things can drop a lot of recipes, so hopefully he has a recipe for me that I can use. Base traps 1 guide, so I'll learn that. A mushroom and a Jerry. Oh, I got a pet. I'm gonna set this up here on my workbench, and he can watch me work whenever I'm crafting my metal. And I also have a little gnome guy that I got from one of those brutes. I've skipped a lot of platform creating and wall creating so I can save as much time in this video as I can, but what I'm doing is just creating a layer around these 2 rooms here, and this is going to act as my staircase, and you can see how I have the 3x4x4 platforms. And anytime that I just want to keep expanding, I just go and cut wood, and I keep making the 3x4x4 platforms and the 3x4 walls. And this is basically all you do to keep making your layers. So you can get pretty creative with this, and you can do whatever you want to do, but this is just my recommendation to get started, and I think it's a good way to learn how to start building in Miscreated. And when the base snapping system comes out, it'll all make a lot more sense, and it will be way easier. Thank you everybody for watching my video. I hope you learned a lot from this. If you watched the entire video, I greatly appreciate you. It really helps me out a lot. and I hope that you learned everything that you need to know to get started in making your base in Miscreated. Don't forget to leave this video a like. If this video gets 500 likes, I'll make another base building video. Thank you again for watching this. I'll see you next time.